Shay, great time to have you on because we have Nvidia here. This is really at the heart of the conversation.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me on. And yeah, the Super Bowl of earnings is this week. So it's Nvidia, Nvidia.
So let's just get into it, right? This is the gravity point for the entirety of the AI trade, and it has been for so long right now. But it's in the midst of a 7-day losing streak, and the market has not rewarded Nvidia in recent weeks and months for really any of these good reports. It's beaten 6 of the 6 past earnings reports on both EPS and revenue, but it's down 5 of the 6 the next day and off close to 5% a week later here. So what does the stock actually need to see and hear when the bar is already for like 99% EPS growth?
Yeah, so I think, like you mentioned, Nvidia has been somewhat of a disappointment if you're like a trader because the stock move has just faded 5 of the last 6 times. I actually think that Nvidia doesn't report for Nvidia anymore. They report for the whole AI infrastructure complex. So I think that tomorrow's report is going to say a lot more about the whole ecosystem than what Nvidia's themselves, especially because the last several weeks we've been trading around the fear that OpenAI's growth is kind of slowing down. You're seeing more chatter that hyperscalers are becoming more conscious on the amount of capital that they're going to spend. And are we at peak infrastructure growth? Because Nvidia right now entering this print is trading probably just under the market multiple, like 19 or 20 times earnings. I don't know exact numbers. So that's essentially the market telling us this is going to be peak infrastructure growth, when we've heard a lot of evidence this cycle alone from ASML, TSM, even Micron, that this is not going to be the peak. We have another 1, 2, maybe even 3 years of this. So I think that this is going to be one of the more, I know like I feel like a broken record saying this every 3 months that this is a big report for Jensen, but it kind of is because we are getting a little more chatter on, is this the potential top of this infrastructure growth, especially when Anthropic and OpenAI going public and they're doing their kind of roadshow showmanship on saying a lot of crazy statements to help themselves, but also weakens others. Either way, I think there's a lot that we can get into on the Nvidia report.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just curious. I love buzzwords. So what's the number or comment or buzzword that you need to hear from Jensen tomorrow? I think the press conference is really going to determine the guidance here. So what are you looking for from him to make you feel good about this thing turning to the upside?
Yeah, I mean, I think that Jensen has been pretty public on that 1 trillion of cumulative Blackwell and Rubin number through calendar year 2027. I think that there's opportunity for him to kind of update that a bit with additional opportunity that's kind of been revealed the past couple of weeks, even couple months. Like, I don't know, adding the standalone Vera CPU racks on top of it, which would tell me that Rubin is expanding opportunity rather than just simply replacing Blackwell. So I think that there is room for commentary on Jensen, some buzzwords on agentic AI. CPUs are expanding the pie. It's not taking away from anything. I also think that the most vulnerable part of the report is going to be the financing. That's obviously been the most controversial. Right. You're seeing like the Burries of the world saying it's all circular, it's just left brain or right brain, it's not real demand. So I think that $500 billion deal that they just announced a couple weeks ago with BlackRock, Blackstone, that's going to probably have to be talked about a little more than just a press release. I think that you're seeing more evidence that Nvidia is trying to become more of a less of the burden on their own shoulders and putting together this land power data center capacity just through third party capital that's required to build these AI factories. Like, they don't want to be the ones to have to do them themselves. So I think that obviously if you're a bull, you are bullish because you think that the demand pool is widening out. Now AI labs and neoclouds can participate in this AI build out rather than just the big four, because they originally didn't have the balance sheet in order to do themselves, but now they have these big backings with Nvidia kind of cementing 25% of the collateral that they can actually participate. So I think that there's a lot of nuance in this report, but the buzzword, agentic AI, and it's probably going to be something about the AI factories, $500 billion build out.
So before we move on to memory here, just for tomorrow, options are pricing about a 5.5% move here. Is that high or low relative to the importance of the report? Because I know you just joked, every NVIDIA report's important, but this one actually does feel a little bit more important than some of the others.
Yeah, so I think Nvidia is also a little tricky because the hyperscaler earnings matter more than the actual Nvidia earnings. We already know it's going to be a beat and a raise. I think that for you to believe, or the listeners to believe, it's going to be more than a 6% move, there needs to be somewhat of a surprise factor. For the downside, it would be gross margin compression due to the Rubin buildouts. If there is any kind of hint that the gross margins are actually going to be trending towards low 70s, that would be a pretty big deflate on the narrative of their pricing power. But the upside also could be, like I mentioned, that $1 trillion number. Like, what if it's a $1.2 trillion updated number because the CPU craze is just ton of momentum, or if the ramp up for Rubin is actually a lot closer than anticipated. So I think that it's going to be a dud. I don't think it's going to move at all. I would be an option seller if you wanted to do something for Nvidia's earnings, but I really just don't think it's going to move the needle at all.
Yeah, you know what? I'm with you. Instead of just playing it for this week, what I went ahead and did here, and it's up on our TCLive follow page here for the listeners, the 190, 195, 225, 230 short iron condor, which sits just beyond the expected move and the average move that we've seen over these past 6 quarters, where the 1 week return has been down by about 4.8% or so. There's decent vol there. Our rule of thumb around these parts is usually look to collect the credit for a third of the width of the strike, and we could do that and some here. So taking it, looking for, as you said, everything that Nvidia is going to tell us about their business, how much money they made, you can kind of piece that together, mosaic theory it a little bit, based on Meta and all their other customers. So, right, there has to be a surprise at this point in the cycle, which Nvidia really perhaps lacks the capacity for now.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of large numbers. That's the unfortunate thing for Jensen. Like, I think that a lot of people view earnings season as like beats and raises should get rewarded. No, it's not. It's actually the surprise factor, like what isn't being priced in. And I think that unfortunately on Nvidia's case, like the market's saying that this is going to be peak growth year this year for CapEx. One quarterly earnings report isn't going to prove that. It's going to be a couple of them in a row. So that's why I think that maybe Nvidia is more of a 2027 story. But if they keep executing, like, just be patient. This is going to be a $300 stock, in my opinion. It's just a matter of when, not if.
So I want to turn our attention to memory here, because I recall having conversations here on the network, and like I was with coworkers in April and May when memory was exploding. Maybe we've broken out of the commodity super cycle that it typically trades in, right? If you see it on the same level as national defense or energy from an administration perspective, then because of that constant demand for the compute build out, perhaps memory is no longer going to experience the boom bust as we typically see, and as we most recently saw with like the crypto build out right around Bitcoin. You have a similar perspective here. Why should we as traders be focused or confident, I should say? Maybe I'm telling myself these things to continue to buy dips, but why should we paying attention to the fact that maybe HBM and even DRAM, they're breaking out of their super cycle type of behavior?
Because the latest and greatest architectures are using HBM at the beginning. Like, what I mean, like, they're orchestrating these new architectures for the latest and greatest with HBM in mind. That's showing it's not just gonna be a fleeting moment. You're seeing, like, Apple alone, for example, like they raise the prices across the board because memory prices are going to be more elevated for longer. They were kind of one of the more adamant customers of saying, like, we're not going to pass these costs to the customers. We're going to eat it because it's going to be a fleeting moment, like it's been past tech cycles. But obviously, this isn't smartphones. This isn't traditional PCs. This is a character change in society as a whole, which is essentially providing intelligence. And HBM and DRAM is a necessary component of that. So it's going to be a lot more prolonged. So as soon as Apple waved the white flag that they're going to raise prices and they were wrong, I think that should have indicated to everyone that this is going to be a lot longer pricing power for these suppliers. And I think that right now you're seeing SK Hynix, you're seeing Micron, they're all trading at a low multiple already. I think they're all under 8 times earnings. So they are being priced like a cyclical company at peak demand and at peak margins. That's going to get lower next year. But for what I'm hearing from all the customers and what I'm hearing from the 5-year contracts that they're signing, that there is somewhat of a new environment now for memory where it isn't going to be these suppliers selling into the spot market. It's becoming a lot more of a predictable revenue stream because they're signing these 5-year contracts. And in my opinion, when you price a company under 10 times earnings, you're putting a cyclical label attached to it because you just don't know what the predictable revenue is going to be down the line. These contracts solve that. So now, like, there is going to be a cyclicality to memory. I'm not saying there's not going to be, but the floor is going to be substantially higher. And this is also not even factoring that every maturity of AI, like right now it's generative AI to now it's agentic AI, is going to be physical AI. There's going to be orbital compute. Like there's going to be so many different versions of AI that's going to need HBM and DRAM that it's going to be much more of a prolonged demand pool for that product than previously anticipated. I will say, I don't know if it ever deserves to be trading at like a 15 times earnings or maybe even 20 times earnings, but at 6 to 7 times earnings, I do think the risk and reward is there for memory, especially when you're getting a lot of evidence from the suppliers themselves, the customers themselves, that this is a end of the decade type of pricing power moment, not peak this year. And I think that that is kind of one of my favorite trades. But I will say, devil's advocate as well,
Sure.
every company creating their own accelerator is working overtime to find ways to not require as much HBM as they require today. So like I think the biggest AI brains know this is an issue, know that these suppliers have massive pricing power where the bill of materials just getting essentially going straight to their pockets, that they are trying to find new architectures that don't require as much. Hasn't come up to a solution, but again, it's going to take at least 2 years. Like once that solution gets created, it's going to be at least 2 years before it hits the pricing power. So even then, like there's years ahead.
Yeah, I mean, you have to think any company that has 80% plus margins in the market has a target on its back for customers are saying, surely we can get a cheaper option out there. These people are getting fat and rich off of us. And there's also folks who come into the market and say, we could probably make a ton of money by doing this a little bit cheaper and undercutting them on competition. We know that some Chinese firms have just recently IPO'd in Beijing and or I should say Shanghai, and the demand's been through the roof. And Apple's been negotiating with them. The State Department's been leaning on Apple. So, okay, let's tie this to Nvidia then. What's the second order effect for Nvidia tomorrow? Like, what does Nvidia need to say to keep the memory names alive, like your Micron, like your SanDisk, like your Western Digital? Which you bring up the long-term agreements; those LTAs are really important. I've raised this with our folks here as well. You go from a business where you say at spot, just selling whatever the market is, to 25, 30, 50% of your revenue is now locked in for the next 3 years, 5 years. That changes your business model, fundamentally speaking. So what's the second order effect are we looking for here in NVIDIA tomorrow? Or should we care more about Marvell on Thursday?
No, I think NVIDIA, there's a lot of read-through on NVIDIA. I keep coming back to gross margins for NVIDIA. I think that matters as much as the revenue, to be honest, and the report, because they're obviously dealing with higher HBM costs, like a lot more complicated rack scale systems, stronger competition from AMD, etc. But I think for memory, I think they're going to say a lot about more commentary on Rubin, like how the Rubin ramp up is going to be and how like the architecture is naturally coming with higher costs and lower initial yields. But like the higher cost component is where you're going to focus on for Rubin. Like, what does that mean for memory? Because memory is the reason that they just had to increase their prices 15%. Rumored. I actually don't know if it was official, but it was some rumor last weekend about that. So I think that if margins fall faster than expected, that could be a read through that memory is just not budging at all, and that they're just like maintaining their line, and they're going to have some pricing power. So I think there's a world where like maybe Nvidia's weakness could be memory's gain.
I was about to
like
say.
that.
In that world, then, if NVIDIA's like, oh, we only have 75% gross margins now, Micron's like, yeah, that's because we're still selling to you for an arm and a leg, and we're going to keep selling you for an arm and a leg, by the way.
Absolutely. And also, I do want to call out like the transitions from like chip to chip. Like there is always somewhat of a margin compression. So like if there is a 73% gross margin, for example, like I think the street estimates are 74% for the next quarter. That is, I wouldn't scream like hair's on fire right now for that, because every transition is really difficult because you don't just sell GPUs in isolation anymore. Every generation requires more networking, memory, interconnect, CPUs, etc. So I think that if there is somewhat of a margin miss on their guide, I think that's maybe a temporary moment, but that temporary moment could be just the memory suppliers just scooping in more and more of the latest and greatest.
Latest and greatest. Okay, so before we get you out the door, going through some of your stuff recently, you've been searching for and have successfully found some longer term AI winners. One of those names is DigitalOcean, DOCN here. And like Palantir, this one from being single digits, double digits, triple digits now. And yeah, it's come off the highs a bit. But given your investing time horizon and trading time horizon, if you've been chasing this up over the past year, you've had a pretty damn good year, as it were. So I'm curious, people around these parts are usually option sellers, but as Dave Chappelle says, sometimes you got to race chip. So if folks are looking for the next bottleneck in AI where they could see a name like a Palantir, DigitalOcean, where's the place that people are missing right now? Is it robotics, power storage? Is there a sector that you're looking into? And don't give away too much alpha, of course.
Well, I think that DigitalOcean, like I felt like I was going crazy with DigitalOcean a bit because it was a top 5 position for me when it was in the 30s. I was uber bullish on that name because every analyst on the street was just like guiding for like a 15% CAGR for the business for the next 3 or 4 years. I was just like, that doesn't make sense to me at all. Like they are perfectly positioned to kind of become that inference engine for not just SMBs or developers, but like potentially larger companies who don't want to pay for the highest performance with the big cloud service providers. So like as soon as agentic AI happened, I was like, this is going to be a massive acceleration of the story for DigitalOcean. And now we have 50% growth for 2027. So like I think that going forward, to find those kind of dislocations, you really need to figure out which companies kind of are working towards maximizing useful intelligence per dollar rather than maximizing the raw token per consumption, which has kind of been the trend for the past 2 years. So a perfect way of finding those next winners is just the open weight models is going to be a continued trend. It's just not going to be just a blimp in the agentic AI build out. Like this is going to be continuing. Most of the token economics will live in the frontier models, but I think there's going to be a lot of winners in the open weight model era. And like for DigitalOcean, just to stay on them, like they just talked about how 15% open weight models increased from 15% of DigitalOcean's tokens, I think it was in April, to now 75% of their whole business. So that's an example of like minority to majority. So now DigitalOcean, you can ride that trend. So I think for open weight models, power is not going anywhere. I think right now you're seeing like data center build out is going through some political fudgery. But what I mean by that is like actually a future, and we called it out 3 months ago, where this is not going to be a great summer trade for data centers because if you are a politician or even the Trump administration, what is the lever you're going to pull to win the public favor in the most immediate amount of time? AI has a PR issue. So you're going to probably say some crazy statements. Yeah, they're going to say some crazy statements of like data centers, no, like we need to be regulated more. We need to pause, like whatever you have to say to get the public favor in the short amount of time. Like, oh, this politician cares about me because he's saying no to all this money because our electricity bill might go up.
I saw a study last week that right now, most Americans would prefer to have a new coal plant built in their town than a data center. Coal plants.
It's
all
ridiculous.
The pollution in the air, all that wastewater, all the water actually being used, far more than data centers, far more pollution. Yet, I mean, that's just where the public sentiment is right now, just to go put an underline underneath it.
Well, no, it's like the devil that you know. That's what the citizens like rather do, even though there's no evidence at all about the data center FUD. Like I saw another like study that golf resorts use 3 times as much water than data centers. So like it's not as drastic as people anticipate, but also like there is a national sovereignty angle towards data centers. Like if we do prohibit the growth of data centers in the US, like you think the rest of the world's going to do that? No, China's going full blast. So like I do think that this is one of those revolutions where the big weights of the world could potentially change if someone solves AGI first. Either way, I digress. What I meant by this whole theme is right now there's a political fudgery due to the midterms. I think once that gets over in November, I do think the reality sets back in that power is going nowhere. And this data center build out, you can't put the genie back in the bottle at all. It's going to continue. And that's why I think the 800V movement's happening. Vertiv and On Semi is kind of my 2 favorite opportunities a bit on in that space. But also Navitas, like MVTS, that's one of the names I've owned since $3. It's very speculative, but again, like this power theme to 800V, like it's a 2020 2028 story. So you have some wiggle room of like building a position before you really see the fundamentals hit the stocks and the market rewards it.